Extra, extra, watch all about it. Google's ending its first-party development without ever releasing a game. Halo Infinite makes history by being the first unreleased game to have timed DLC partnerships that run out before its launch. Tall Scary Lady from Resident Evil is also scary tall. All this and more in this issue of the Gamerville Gazette. Of Gamerville, and welcome back to your trusted news source, the Gamerville Gazette. As always, I am your host, Theodore Smith, aka Teddy, here to give you the inside scoop on today's top headlines. It was a busy week last week here in Gamerville, and I'm a bit tardy to the party. But busy weeks mean more news, and more news means more Teddy, so lucky you. Electronic Arts made a few major announcements last week, the first of which being a May 14th release date for Mass Effect Legendary Edition. MELE is a remastered version of games 1 through 3 in the saga of Commander Shepard, as well as over 40 DLCs. Now, one would think I meant to say all DLCs, but that's where one would be wrong. Apparently, the Pinnacle Station DLC, originally developed by Demiurge Studios, will not be joining this Legendary Edition. The source code was corrupted and lost to time. The BioWare team in charge of bringing this game back to life said it would be too time-consuming to recreate it. It would be too time-consuming to recreate this one DLC for a franchise that last saw its mainline entry over 9 years ago. Okay, no biggie. So it could still be legendary, right? Oh, and there won't be any multiplayer. According to Mac Walters, a longtime BioWare developer, at some point, we had to draw a line. Apparently, that line was left of the multiplayer. Who needs multiplayer anyway? I'm sure the game will run great on... Wait a minute, this just in. The game won't be coming to next-gen consoles either. Well, I'm just glad that EA and BioWare are redefining the word legendary. Can't wait for that legendary re-release of Anthem, guys. Let's keep this EA train rolling with another couple of AAA hero headlines. EA formally announced the return of its college football game franchise. The term NCAA has been scrubbed from existence, as has any student likenesses from the team's rosters, which is what wound up ending the franchise prematurely back in 2014. But hey, so what if your roster's full of soulless automatons? They'll still be clad in your favorite school's attire, and they'll still have the ability to get utterly destroyed by Alabama in the playoffs. It's so realistic. And to round out this triple EA feature, we get to talk about microtransactions. Yay! During a recent announcement, EA boasted gross earnings of $3.951 billion from the live services industry. Ultimate Teams, FIFA Mobile, and Apex Legends are just some of the many microtransaction revenue streams that help to achieve this number. To put it into perspective, in the last quarter, EA made $722 million from making full game sales, whereas live services managed to rake in $951 million. They're making more money milking titles than they are at making titles. You see, this is why they're heroes. Anyone can make a successful game, but it takes real grit and determination to look back on games that you already released and think, what if we charged even more money for the game that they already bought? Who could forget top-tier microtransactions like star cards in Battlefront 2, which were later removed, propelling the game to superstardom? Or tiered cosmetic items in Anthem, a game which has to be rebooted and has no significant update for months, except for apparently this week they're going to talk about it, but they may be canceling the entire thing. Don't get me started, that's next week's news. My hat is off to you, good sirs. Please ignore my hair. Moving on to some non-EA news. I may have missed the boat on this one, but I still found it curious. Halo Infinite promotional DLCs are starting to expire. In particular, some emblems available from Butterfinger wrappers will be wrapping up on February 15th. This DLC will be joining the Redshift armor coating from GameStocks, as well as the Azure vehicle coating from Kellogg's and Kroger grocery stores, as DLC that will no longer be available for a game that actually doesn't exist and you can't buy right now. Microsoft, I'm awarding you the Gamerville Gazette, trademark pending, for the most creative microtransaction. Who would have thunk that you could get away with selling DLC for games that don't even have release dates, let alone giving DLC an expiration date to create a FOMO of content that you literally can't even have at the moment? You are a model for us all to follow. In that same vein, I'd like to announce our partnership with Paperboy 3. Get your Gamerville Gazette DLC now by sending me $2.99 on PayPal. Sure, the game hasn't been announced, and no one is currently developing it, and Paperboy hasn't seen a legit release since the N64. But that's not going to stop your pal Teddy from cashing in. Be sure to subscribe to this channel to follow this totally real story. Google announced it will be ending its first-party game development, basically immediately. If your game wasn't slated for 2021, odds are you're out of a job. And this is sad news for the 3 people out there devoted to playing games on that platform. But this was really more of a formality than breaking news. I'm not really sure where Google can go from here regarding Stadia. Wait, yes I am. I'd call it Stadia 2. I was gonna say Stadia U, but that one didn't go over very well for Nintendo. Anyway, this is probably the easiest one I've ever come up with. All you have to do is use the original announcement video and then just add a 2 in whenever anybody says the word Stadia. I mean, you fumbled nearly every promise you made in that original announcement. So this time, promise the exact same thing and then maybe try not doing that. Trust me, I know how crazy it sounds, but honestly, the concept of game streaming was never really the problem. It was just the awful, terrible, no good, very bad execution that was the issue. Some people may think I'm a bit of a softie when it comes to AAA heroes and the likes. I'm not sure where they get that idea, but even you have to admit that your rollout was kind of the worst. Just don't give up. Unlike Google Play Music, Google Plus, Google Daydream, Google Glass, Google Play Newsstand, Google Checkout, G-Chat, and the hundreds of other poorly thought out ideas within the Google graveyard, this one still has the slimmest chance of success. I mean, if GameStop can awake from a coma, why not you? And to wrap up our news for the week, we received an official height for that tall, scary lady from that new Resident Evil Village game. Her name is Lady Dimitrescu, and her approximate height is 9 foot 6 inches tall. Why does that matter? Why did I save this story for last? Well, how else would people be able to draw risque artwork of this Freddy Krueger-esque beauty if they didn't have an official height to keep her in scale? After the PS5 demo was released, no Twitter feed was safe from the borderline Rule 34 artwork, and thanks to official dimensions from Capcom, people could finally bring a sense of realism to their lewd drawings of this fictional game character with knives for fingers and an unreasonably large hat. So, why did I include this in the weekly wrap-up? Because Gamerville residents dubbed this as newsworthy, and I'm the #1 reporter on the Gamerville beat. The things I do for you people. That's all from your favorite 1920s journalist, Teddy. For more on the greatest takes on the latest news, subscribe to this channel, and keep an eye out for the next issue of the Gamerville Gazette. Watching, like what you see? Click one of these links for more content. Also, check out our Discord channel to hang out with other residents of Gamerville. Catch the next issue soon.